right, it looks like our live stream is going. So how's it going out there in YouTube land? This is Mr. Clicksflix. Welcome. Mr. Clicksflix is brought to you by Lucky Dice Cafe out of Huntsville, Alabama, home of the ROC. No matter if you're in the United States or around the world, Lucky Dice Cafe has the winning role for our gaming needs. You can visit them at luckydicecafe.com or on their Facebook page using the link found in the description of this video. Mr. Clicksflix is also brought to you by trollandtoad.com, one of the largest online gaming retailers. Please visit trollandtoad.com, use the promo code Mr. Clicksflix for 5% off your Heroclix order today. Alright guys, so as promised, we are doing a live stream, Ask Me Anything, to close out Everyday April. It's been fun. Hopefully you guys had fun watching all the videos. Let me know in the live chat what your favorite video was. I always enjoy looking at that stuff, and we're going to go ahead and some people did submit questions ahead of time for Ask Me Anything. I posted in the Mr. Clicksflix Facebook group and on the Patreon page and on Twitter if anybody wanted to ask me anything. So let me see here. We got one person asking questions already. Also, questions do not have to be Heroclix related, although please, don't ask me for anything super too personal, because that's not gonna do too well for me. So I'm just getting the questions up right now on my phone, and we will answer the first one. Is Mango Seabolt. He says, I assume I'm sorry. What WizKids Open summer piece are you most excited for? Man, that's a tough one. They look good. I think the Mandarin rings just in general are what I'm most excited for. Individually, they're not super impressive, although I do really like the Remaker with shape change and poison on it. But I think when you start to take into account that you can run two of them on one character, that's probably what I'm most excited for. And then we just got I know they're not the WizKids Open prizes like you asked about, but we just got a bunch of previews for U.S. Nationals today. And I don't know, as far as I really like the Storm sculpt with where she's wielding Mjolnir is beautiful. I really like the sculpt, and she's going to be competitive. But even if she wasn't, I think that's probably one of the most beautiful sculpts I've seen in a while. Same thing with the Miles Morales, and the Spider-Gwen looks really cool. And then definitely the Collector will be competitive just from a standpoint of stealing your opponent's objects. That's going to be really big. So if the stream looks okay and you can hear me okay, make sure to press 1, just so I know that my computer is getting a little long in the tooth for computers. We're at what is this, a 7-year-old computer. So if you guys see me, that's where actually all the Patreon money goes to. Why I've been pushing that so hard, because I want to get a new computer and get that all set up with I'm going to be building it myself to try to save some funds, but it's going to be very state-of-the-art and make it so I can do more live streams, because that's actually why I don't do too many live streams anymore, is because I didn't like the setup before. Although I picked up a second monitor, that's why you kind of like see me looking off to the side, so I can keep an eye on that. It's not as bad with all that stuff. So we will get to the live stream questions. Actually, now we'll do that. So what Hunter Kovacs, and I see him a lot he's always all over the comments. So thank you for that, Hunter. Is what are you most excited for new Heroclix sets? So the new Heroclix sets, I'm actually, I mean, it sounds a little lame. I'm hyped for the Black Panther and the Illuminati set. The sets that come out right around like Nationals and Worlds, they always seem to be just a little bit better than most sets, so I'm really hyped for that set. I like that it has a ton of equipment. The figures that we've seen so far, even the non-competitive ones seem fun to me. I like the route that I see them going in. It's my understanding that they're not going to have Fantastic Four in it, which is pretty disappointing to me. I'm not going to lie, because Fantastic Four is probably my favorite superhero team. I used to always like them, but they definitely became my favorite with the Hinder run on Future Foundation. I'm sorry, Hickman. The Hickman run, Jonathan Hickman on FF and Fantastic Four. That's whenever they definitely became solidly my favorite. I don't see how they're going to get outplaced, but I'm excited for that. And then if you grew up in the 90s, you got to be hyped for X-Men, the new X-Men set that's going to come out. They're going to actually have animated series Morph in it, which I'm pretty excited for. Even if he's terrible, just to have that one. It's going to have Gambit, who's probably my favorite X-Man, and a bunch of other really cool stuff. So that looks cool. Cool there. And then, so those are probably the two I'm most hyped for. And the OP set for this summer looks pretty cool too. Next one is from HubCam210. In a sealed event, what's the best type of clicks to putt in a 300-point team? Well, in sealed, it's kind of tough. You got to roll with them punches on what you get and what you don't. Typically, if you refer to my videos on like what makes a good base Heroclix team, that's kind of what you want to look for. You want to look for a good main attacker, preferably somebody with some kind of range. You want to look for somebody with some support powers. Preferably Perplex and Prob are probably the two most powerful ones in sealed, although Outwit's pretty strong too. And then you want to look for somebody to keep you mobile. So for example, in the last what was it? WizKids Open, I think is what it was. Yeah, the WizKids Open that I played in, we did Earth X sealed, and I pulled Black Bolt and Captain Britain and Spider-Man, the 15-point version one. And he that was a pretty strong team. The fact that it was Earth X theme gave me probability control. Black Bolt is a really strong main attacker at 150 points with that stuff, with the hypersonic speed and the 5 damage and whatnot. And then what else is there? Then there was Captain Britain, who had just a really strong defense and increased other people's defenses. And then Spider-Man had support and Perplex and was able to move people out of harm's way, and he was just generally helpful. So that's what I'd say makes a pretty good support team. If you can cover your bases for somebody that's good up close, somebody that's good up range, and then somebody that can lend some support, that's definitely where I'd go. Let me see. Hiei Wizard, are you a Yu Yu Hakusho fan? Because that was my favorite dude from that show. So he asks, what do you think about the combo of Daredevil and Traylon? I think that's how you say that. I actually went up against that at the West Virginia State ROC championship. Definitely a very potent combo. I was also running a Don't Die team, but I did not have Traylon just because... quite frankly, I wasn't shelling out the money for him for a Don't Die team. But it's definitely a potent combo whenever you can take away those 6s that your opponent might roll against your Earth X Daredevil. Now, for the Earth X Daredevil, you don't even have to hit with a 6. You could roll 6 and a 1 with a 9 attack and still remove a token. So it does help with that. But if an opponent rolls a critical hit, you're only able to replace one of them with the Traylon. But still, it might give you a little more survivability. So I do like the combo. I'd say if you're running a Don't Die team, Daredevil is probably your most unkillable figure. So anything you can do to give him a layer of protection is good. Traylon's a good idea. I like giving him shape change with the Venom symbiote. Was another good thing to give him a little bit more survivability. So that is my thoughts on those ones, and you guys can keep the questions coming in. That's fine. You can ask as many questions as you want. It's not limited to one, But so we have a few people. I'm gonna take a look at the ones from Facebook, and we've got Daniel Diaz asked, why do people have to include taxis on their teams? What is the strategic advantage versus having an extra fighter on your team? And that's a pretty good question. It really just depends on what team style you're running. A lot of teams where you can do something after you attack are what likes to have a taxi. So the Shredders are who really made it so that taxis were super popular. They were popular before and people knew about them, but the fact that Shredders could sidestep and then deal you 1 penetrating damage really brought it to the forefront as a game element that people became acutely aware of. Right now, you have the Hulks that you can give them the exo specs and they can sidestep after they've been carried for Quake. And then you have the Captain America Resilient that can also give them 1 free movement to Quake again. So just that's the reason why you have them, is if you have a force like that you can deploy, or you have like a main attacker that really needs to be adjacent to somebody to get some type of bonus or something like that, and they for some reason can't carry themselves, the taxi makes that happen. It's kind of a strategic setup. It's a valid thing to use. So it's definitely popular. And the reason why you'd have that instead of a fighter is because the other fighter might not be able to carry your team in and out of danger to help out. Then we've got another person named Drew Warren. It says, what's the most amazing sculpt you've seen in these eras? Modern, only current rotation, silver, anything carded, only uncarded figures. Oh, man. Okay, uncarded figures. I really like the original Supernova chases. I also have a special place in my heart for the Hawkeye from, I think it was Armor Wars, that was on the motorcycle shooting the bow. I always thought that was a cool sculpt. And the Thor LE from Supernova, where he had on the armor and was holding his hammer up. I always thought that one looked really cool too. Silver Age, which would be anything with a card. Ah, man, there's so many good sculpts. It's hard to tell. Probably Smoky Foot Cap's really who's jumping out at me right this second. So that's probably just who I'm going to go with. And then right now, Modern Age, Cap Venom looks awesome in hand if you've ever seen him. Then there's I really like the 1862 Iron Man. I think that was the best sculpt in that set, and probably one of the best ones I've seen in a long time. And then as far as DC goes, I really am digging that Starfire Super Rare that's in DC Rebirth. I think that's a really cool set and a really cool sculpt there. So definitely digging her. Let me see here. Last question that's on the Facebook group that I can see is Christian Boggin. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, buddy. I see him cropping up a lot too, so thank you for all the comments. It says, what rule changes are your favorite? Which are your least favorite? Okay, so if you guys don't know, and this is going to be in a different video in the next couple days, is going to be, there were some changes announced today. Nothing super earth-shattering, although there were some that were kind of a big deal. So then he goes on to say, so we're going to address that here in a second, but it says, I'm a DC guy, but I can't help but feel from the few previews we've seen from Illuminati that it will be vastly superior to that of DC Rebirth. What are your thoughts? Is this bad for the game? Should DC be more lenient with how WizKids designs their figures like Marvel does? So first of all, as far as game design goes, I'm always for letting the person do their job. So if I'm going to let a person make a game for me, I'm going to let them make a game for me. I trusted them enough to give them my property. I'm going to let them go after that. I'm not going to be over their shoulder trying to micromanage from the over their shoulder to make it so that they can't do their best job. You know, you don't hire somebody that's cutting your grass and then, you know, you go out there and you say, well, you have to cut the grass in this particular way. Even if that might not be the best way, maybe they know a better way. So that's why I'd kind of let them go on that. I think DC shoots themselves in the foot a lot on that. And honestly, I think that's one of the big reasons why we don't get so many DC sets. Now, it could be some kind of licensing issue where they don't get more DC sets, but I think that, you know, they're probably, if they're telling them how certain things have to be, they probably just don't, not that they'd ever say it, but they probably don't care for working with them. It's probably pretty stressful because, you know, if you mess up, then they might pull a major license. And, you know, I'm a Marvel fanboy, but I still buy DC, but I know, like, if Marvel wasn't in the game, I'd have a hard time playing it, and I know there's some DC guys that feel the same for DC. And then as far as Rebirth goes, I think there's some real gems in there that you'll see in competitive, but I will agree that I think Black Panther and the Illuminati seems better so far. But like I said before, it always seems like the set that drops right before Nationals, US Nationals, and whatever comes out like at the end of the year typically seem to be the two strongest sets. And the last two, I think, ended up being Marvel. So that's just why I think the Marvel ended up getting the better shake on that one. And then as far as the rules change, they're my favorite. I like the basically the rules they made for tying and for the buys, because a buy used to be a death set. Well, I liked all the things they did with the point values and winning. So just to break it down real quick for TLDR, what they did is a 0-0 go to time game. A 0-0 tie is now a loss for both players. While I agree that you could be actively doing things during a game, if it's and still end up with 0 points, I think that that's just not a good game state to be in. A 0-0 tie after 45 minutes, you should have at least burned an ID card or something like that in 45 minutes. So there's that. Now, buys are currently half points, which they picked up from the ROC, which is a really good thing. And I think the 0-0 tie loss is ROC also. So good on Howard for being there and doing that, because really, really helps out us players when there's more rules that are positive like that. So the buys are now half points. So if you play 300 points, you get 150 points in a win. I think that's pretty good. That means that second round buy isn't the kiss of death that it used to be, and neither is the first round buy. So they kind of helped fix those a little bit so that you can still, if you wipe an opponent 300-0 and you end up being 2-1 with 450 points, you can still do stuff. And then what was it that they did? How to score characters that have that bring in more points than the cost of the build. So for example, like a quick one to toss out there would be Unimind, how you can easily get 500 points worth of victory points in a 300 point game. They addressed that, and they said that you can only get the build total for the game. So let's say you KO Unimind, he pops, you knock out everybody, you only get 300 points on your win sheet. And they also have another thing where if you get 100 more points than the build total, it's an automatic win. So let's say you pop that Unimind, you KO 400 points worth out of a 500 point game. The game stops and you're the automatic winner, winning at 300 points. I really like that a lot. I think that's cool. I think that'll help speed up some games and adjust some tactics that people are doing. As far as negative changes, man, that thing about not having print and play cards and then not having a way for you to get new ones from WizKids outside of going to the convention really sticks in my craw the wrong way. I really don't like that at all. I think if you can have a good quality copy and it is verified that the wording on it is proper to the original text, I think they should let you go on that. But I assume somebody probably got told from a higher up that that was a big no-no. So those are the questions that I see on Facebook. I'll check back there here in a little bit. It looks like we're getting a bunch more questions in the chat. So let me see here. What brew are you having right now? Right now, I'm just having a crisp, clean water. I've got some Jack Daniel's single barrel upstairs. I'm normally a hard liquor kind of guy, more than a beer guy. But yeah, that's probably what I go for. Is more of the liquor stuff, or a mixed drink like a Jack and Coke or something like that. But I do like beer. If I have a beer, I like Heineken. A lot of German beers I like that are imported, and then if I'm slumming it, I like Coors Light. And Natural Light from college still has a soft spot in my heart. Brings back some memories, although it tastes terrible. But so let me see here. My last sealed game I played with the Tabletop Teacher Store, and I had a very bad booster choice, lost all 3 matches. Yeah, that's happened to me. That's actually why I don't travel more than an hour for sealed, for like WizKids Open and stuff. Well, an hour and a half. The one store is an hour and a half away. Because I had such a bad experience, and it is not the store's fault. So and I'm not going to name names because it really wasn't their fault. And it's just how it goes. I traveled 2.5 hours to a store when it was X-Men Xavier School. The most offensive piece in both my boosters was Sprite, and I just had a bad day at the office. Sprite's good, but she needs some backup, and I didn't have it. And I got to travel 5 hours round trip for it. I know some people travel farther than that, but I wouldn't mind traveling farther than that, or that far again, for Constructed, but I'm just not comfortable traveling that far for sealed. Whenever, I mean, Lady Luck can just slap you right in the face for that one, and then you'll be sad. So let me see here. Cobra Viper 11 is let me see here. There aren't much figures with Force Blast lately. Why could that be? I don't know. I think it just doesn't get a lot of use. I would expect when they do a Powers update at some point that's probably going to get updated. I'd like to see them make the D6 roll for Force Blast a free action, and you just have the result of your D6 roll. I think that would really help that power out a lot. Giving it a power action just to knock back isn't very good. So I think that they're probably peeling back on that. But I have seen a lot of characters that just have auto knockback, so yeah, somebody's calling me out for Natural Light. It's not my favorite. It's just has a good place in my heart from before I could afford things. But yeah, so that is what's going on with that. I'm trying to scroll back up so I can see the chat, because it scrolled down on me a little bit here. So let me see here. So we've got favorite power overall from Athalas 1, I guess is how you'd say that. And favorite power overall. I mean, the one I get the most use out of is probability control. But there's some other ones. I really like Force Blast, like somebody just talked about. Poison is one that I really like. And then I don't know anybody that doesn't like Pulse Wave. I mean, come on now. You gotta like that one. And then hold on, we're trying to scroll down here. Then after that, I don't know. I mean, I like all the powers. There's some powers that I like and dislike more than others. Like I really wish they'd do something with whatever his name, with Leap Climb, to make it a little bit better. Because I'm not a huge fan of how it currently works. I wish it would just sort of work as a passive power in the background, so that you could charge with Leap Climb, like it just gave you something in addition to like improved movement. I know that's really at that point it's just improved movement, but I don't know, maybe it's got to do something more than what it does. So let me see here. I know I missed one. Trying to find it here in the chat. Let me see here. He a Wizard. I think to play a Venom team, but I don't have Cat Venom. Have Rocket, Spider-Man, and Iron Man. And last 25 points, Alex Water What do you think of that? So he wants to play a Venom team. Rocket, Spider-Man, Iron Man, 25 points for Alex Waldo. I mean, Alex is a good choice automatically. I like that Rocket because he ignores and destroys blocking, which can be pretty cool. I think Iron Man's not terrible. Spider-Man's not bad, but he's up close only. I think depending on the map, if you can win map roll, you'll do okay. I don't think it's not a competitive team because you have... If I was going to try to make something competitive out of what you have, I'd try Rocket and Alex and see if I could support Rocket more to be a powerhouse, or Iron Man, and I'd just drop the Spider-Man, and then either the Rocket or the Iron Man, whichever one I decided to not go with. Then somebody has, let me see here. Boop, 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 boop. Somebody else asked, what is your favorite power? I bet you say Pulse Wave. That is a good one. That's like the great equalizer. It's the Colt single action army of powers. So somebody asked how much Superman Prime costs in price. Somebody said I think $250. I'm not sure which set. I'm trying to think of what set he's in. Then somebody said $250. I'm not sure. I think $150 might be for that Superman Prime, but I'm not entirely sure. Then somebody asked, what would be your go-to monster? This is Charlie Thomas. I think Charlie's a Patreon patron, so thank you for that. And if you aren't, please consider. I'm pretty sure you are, though. Then for the my favorite monster... I don't know if he's monster keyword, but I know my favorite monster, like all time, would be just Mole Man from Galactic. Was he Galactic Guardians or the Hulk set, where he ended up having a 13 attack and could mind control friendly monsters. And I think he had triple target. That was probably my favorite one, as far as that goes. If he had monster keyword, if we're talking modern age, man, there's so many good ones right now. Monster keyword's just really good. I have a hard time getting over that Cat Venom just because of how good the sculpt is. There's probably other monsters that are better, like in a vacuum where it's just one monster, but I love the sculpt for that. I think he does some cool stuff. I like the chases from DC Rebirth also, that they basically all have monster, so that's pretty cool too. Hopefully they do a bunch more monsters that aren't chases, but those ones are pretty cool so far. Then let me see here. Any suggestions on teams with Chase Figure Devastator from DC Rebirth? Well, we've got a Chase Devastator, if I can ever figure out how to use the camera, right here, because if I hit $200 on Patreon by 11:59 p.m. tonight, he will be thrown in with the 10 boosters of DC Rebirth that I unboxed for my unboxing, thanks to trollandtoad.com. So there's a bunch of cool stuff in there. And I think we're with the last... Somebody just registered for $12, so thank you to him. So that puts us, we need like $8 more in Patreon patrons. So visit patreon.com/MrClicksFlix to go over there and do that. It can be as little as $1. It's got a ton of cool perks. We can talk about that more if somebody posts in the comments that they want to know about it, but I don't want to, belabor that point. So let's take a look at what he does here. If you're playing him at 225 or 150, I'm going to assume you're going to main force him at 225. He's got an 8 movement with charge, 12 attack, super strength, 19 defense, invincible, and indomitability, 5 damage. So what you need to do is figure out for a way for characters to not be able to attack you by the time you get to them. He does have a trait that is helpful that all the chases from this set have, where they end up with a +1 defense when targeted by a ranged attack, +1 defense if the opposing character can use stealth, +1 defense if the opposing character's in hindering. So he could potentially get up to a 22 defense if he's targeted at range, which is pretty healthy. I'd like his survivability at that point. And but you need a more reliable way to do that, and you need him to not be outwitted, because I used him in a battle royale. That's actually how I won this one, and his defense got outwitted and got taken to Pound Town. So that's really what you need to do. I think if you put something on here to give him shape change, give him an extra layer of defense, that would really help his survivability. Something like the Venom symbiote, where he breaks away automatically, has plasticity and shape change, and that's only 4 points. That would really help him out a lot, I think. And then you figure you still have roughly 70 points to deal with. Let's look at his keywords here. Dark Knights, Brute, and Monster. Monster keyword's really strong right now. I think I'd try him with the Raven at 65 points, because he can be carried, and she has a bunch of support powers, and she has phasing teleport, and you should be able to get away with running her to her 65 point line with him. So you'd still have enough room. That's not the most competitive team, but that's just sitting here spitballing what I would try. And then it's a +2 theme team for monsters. That's what I would honestly give that a look there for that. Reborn Cargo the best. Yeah, that's who asked that. So that's where I would start with that. Monsters probably, if you want to go theme team, probably your best bet to go with for that. Then David Schultz, how do you think Superman Prime would do in a low point value with Storm right now? I'm not sure what that Superman Prime, what even set he's from. But that's Storm. And I'm not sure which Storm you're talking about. If you tell me which Storm you're talking about, I'll answer that question. Are you talking about the one that got previewed today? Are you talking about the one that got previewed for the Women of X-Men set? Or are you talking about a different Storm? So you let me know that. All right, so Mike G, power bottom or top? So not sure what you're talking about there. Bottom, I think his top is 350, so that doesn't work. I think people are still talking about Superman Prime, so I'm not sure. Right there. Oh, yeah, top of his value is 350. Okay, I'm finally catching up. Mike G. I don't know what's... Oh, I don't know. Don't know who Mike G is. So that's cool there. David Shaw, Prob. Or Shalette, yeah. And then Cobra, Viper 11. Do you think Super Sense needs an update? To me, it's one of the weakest powers. Something that has to do with action tokens to increase the roll would be great, or something like that. I like Super Senses because it's unique in the fact that you avoid the attack. So you basically get to a point where you never got hit with it, which is, really cool and super powerful. I like the fact that they made it so that you could still roll your Super Senses with a character with Precision Strike. You just get -1. The only change that I'd like to make would maybe be if it's a critical hit. Again, I think if you got a critical hit, you made it so that you got -1 to your Super Senses rolls. I think that'd be pretty fair. That's probably my biggest drawback right now, is I've been getting hit with a lot of critical hits with my Super Senses rolls, or with my characters with Super Senses. So that would probably be my one nitpick if I had to do that. So Mike G said something about telling more about Patreon. So just over on patreon.com/MrClicksFlix. If you visit over there, I've got a bunch of Patreon rewards laid out for people, varying from everybody gets an unofficial Team Abilities card, because WizKids doesn't really have one right now. So as help to the community, I thought I'd make that for you. It's a nice PDF file. And there is that. So somebody's playing around right now. $11 more. Where are your tokens? Your tokens go out the next business day after you do that. So, yeah. So, you get tokens. You can get all kinds of cool stuff there. So, you know, if you do that, let me know. And thank you. It really does help the channel grow. So then we've got Dave, who seems to still be talking about the Superman Prime. And then Reborn Cargo, the best. How about 150 point team suggestions with Devastator? So at 150, he's got 7 movement with charge, 10 attack, super strength, 18 defense, impervious, and indomitability, 4 damage. Again, I'd probably go with something like the Venom symbiote to help him out. Then I would find a way to give somebody TK to TK him out, and you need a perplexer. Again, that could probably be solved with Raven to does she have TK? Hold on a second. Let's check. I'm tired of spitballing. Let's check. Head on over to hcrealms.com. We're gonna see what she does, because I have her, but I'm still not caught up in like 100% whenever I talk about figures from DC Rebirth, what they do 1,000% of the time. So Raven's a rare, I do know that. Raven at so she has stealth, phasing, teleport, passenger 3 if they share keywords. She does have the monster. She has perplex, probability, control, and support. Then there is that stuff. So really you could with the TK page while I'm live streaming. So we're going to check out, see if there's a monster that has TK. If you guys can think of one in the comments off the top of your head, go ahead and put that in the comments section. Otherwise, I think one of the Mandarin rings that's getting ready to come out has the... no, you're fine. Don't worry about repeating yourself. I think one of the Mandarin rings gives telekinesis that's getting ready to come out at the Summer WizKids Open. So... let me see here. We've got Jeanette from Harley Quinn and the Gotham City Girls for 50 points. Has a monster keyword and has TK. So I'd probably go with her and Raven, and then some other perplexer that could help out. I think, yeah, that'd probably be what I'd do, just to TK him out and get him some extra range. If you're looking at going with non-theme, I would definitely use Mr. Oz to TK him out, because then you get that extra 2 movement TK. And then there's a bunch of other better perplexers out there. For example, Star Fox to perplex like his attack up by 2, and then there's some other characters that could perplex up the damage to get it up to a 7. And attack. You could also give him the Awk arms to give him flurry if you didn't want to give him the Venom symbiote. So you could potentially get him up to a 13 attack for 7 damage flurry fairly easily if you didn't go theme team. So then we've got well, let's see here. Charlie's asking again, what's your favorite team to play in tournaments? Well, are you asking competitive, or are you asking like just favorite team to play, like just for fun? Because if it's just for fun, I really try to vary up my builds a lot. But if it's like, you know, my standard thing that I default to, probably Avengers, just because I really like Captain America. He's probably my favorite Avenger. Spider-Man's one of my favorite characters also. He's an Avenger. And then, what else is there? Daredevil's my next favorite, so Marvel Knights is probably my next favorite one to run. I wish I could say Fantastic Four, because that's what I normally, you know, if I was playing Golden Age and had a bunch of Golden Age figures, I run them a lot, but sadly there's no modern age ones. So yeah, those are probably the ones I like to run the most, just because I can run the characters that I like the most. But I always try to not run the same version, just because I think, and if you look at my videos for, what was it, top 5 Heroclix mistakes and top 10 best practices, I think I talk about making sure to vary up your builds and vary up your power sets and stuff like that. So I think in the casual setting, if I'm able to do that with my teams and get used to how certain powers interact and whatnot, I think it makes me a better player overall. It makes it so I have fun because and justifies, purchasing sealed product because I'm using all the product. It makes it fun for my opponents because I'm not always running, top meta or something like that. So I like that. As far as meta goes, the last WizKids Open I went to, ROC States I went to, I ran a Don't Die team. But generally I like running, if the less I have to roll, the better, because my rolls are hysterically bad. But right now, I just got done playtesting a police theme team that sadly just doesn't look like it's going to work out. But that one was really fun. It had a lot of synergy with 3 different leaderships, 2+2 perplexers, a probability control. It was Sheriff Strange at 100 points, Big Boss Hill, Sheriff Steve Rogers, and Thoris for a +4 police theme team with the Exospecs and the Goblin Glider. And what else was there? And then ID cards to round out the rest. I liked it, but in the current meta, basically if you can't get off, I'd say at least 3 or 4 attacks a turn, your team isn't going to do well. You're not going to knock out enough figures. So that's basically why that one got taken out, is just because I couldn't get enough attacks all the time. Right now, my current favorite team that I'm playtesting right now and I really like a lot are Avengers. I like Hawkeye Avengers a lot. I played that team last year at ROC States. Although admittedly I played it poorly because I wasn't very practiced at it, but it was basically the iterations you're seeing now, except Proxima Midnight Spear wasn't out. And then I also really like running Avengers with 50-point Hulk, 2 50-point Hulks to be specific. Hulk is my son's favorite character, so I get a little bit of extra dad pride there whenever I'm able to run my son's favorite figure and do really well. I like, I'll give you guys the team basics right now. It's Phil Coulson from the Captain Marvel set, 2 50-point Hulks, the Captain America Resilient, an Exospecs, and I think 1 Giant Girl, and then 1 or 2. I didn't have a lot of room for ID cards. And then basically, the Beetle Pod. The Beetle Pod was also on there to give Phil Coulson +2 movement that can't be reduced and give him flight. So that gives him a 14 movement, and he's able to carry the other characters. And then you're able to, after being carried with Cap, give him +1 to move both Hulks, and then use the other Hulk with the Exospecs to get a 3rd attack off. It seems pretty cool to me. I like it a lot of damage output. Some drawbacks right now, but yeah, that's what I like. We just got a question. What do you think of Game of Thrones in the MCU? I believe that what you mean by God is Game of Thrones and the MCU. I like both. I watch both. Game of Thrones, last episode, I'm with the people that just couldn't see a lot of things that were going on, and I was in a dark room. But I liked it. I'm not going to give any spoilers, so for those of you that haven't seen, don't worry about that. I liked it a lot. I like Game of Thrones. There's some characters like Theon Greyjoy, and to preface this, I have not read the books. I've read like Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia and stuff like that, so I am familiar with fantasy, although not, like what George R.R. Martin's doing. But Theon Greyjoy will never be a hero in my book. Ever since he betrayed Robb Stark, I was like, peace out, A-Town down. When Ramsay was working him over, I didn't feel bad for him at all. I still don't feel bad for him. But I do like Game of Thrones. I like what they're doing. I like the long-form storytelling that is serial. I'm trying to think of how to put it. Like, just in the episodes. So it's basically like an 8-hour movie. So it's the best movie you could ever do, because it used to be, the saying is the movie will never be good as the book, because the book is several hundred pages and the movie is an hour and a half, 2 hours long. Well, now that you can have, let's say it's something like Game of Thrones, 8-episode season, although this season I think is 6. So you have 8 hours to tell that one, and you could maybe do it in one book. And with streaming services getting more and more money, I do think that it's a good direction for things to move in, and I think that the storytelling will get better. As far as the MCU goes, I really like it. I was really happy. I saw Endgame. I was happy with how it ended. There are certain things on the fringe that I'm not caring for, that I'm seeing where they're starting to emulate what's going on behind the scenes with the Marvel comic books, that I agree with what they're saying, but not with how they're doing it. And without getting too far into the weeds, I like the MCU as it currently is. I am nervous for what it could become, but I am hopeful that they will not allow that to happen. So yeah, that's about it. But I am looking forward to like Spider-Man Homecoming and stuff like that, and Black Panther 2. I really hope. No spoilers. I'm not going to talk about anything. But I hope Namor's in the MCU, and we can see him in Black Panther 2. I think that'd be a cool setup. But anyway, Brick is asking, my favorite team to run is Thunderbolts, and with Kobiki coming, I think that's how you'd say her name, coming out, what are your thoughts? I think she's a little pricey for a support piece. Yeah, I think anytime you get over 75 points for a support piece, I have trouble justifying it. The only exception would be like Lockjaw, just because he's so strong and gives you all kinds of stuff. I would even throw Star Fox, the Chase, into that grouping, because he has the +2 perplex. Very popular right now to put the exo specs on him so you can lend some help with some TK, but then he's also a very capable secondary attacker. And it's crazy to say that somebody with a 12 attack is your secondary attacker on your team. So that shows you like where the bar is at for competitive support figures. Your general support figure, I would say, would probably be somebody like Raven, which is 65 points, and she's bringing you perplex, prob, support, triple character carry, even if they have the wing symbol, as long as they share a keyword. And then if she moves, she can use the Titan's team ability for free. So she can pick up a Nightwing, for example. She can, Nightwing did his thing. He needs an extract because he got beat up. You do your probs and perplexes, and then you full movement, phasing teleport back, and free try to heal him with the Titan's team ability, and then next turn you can push with her to support, and then depending on how that goes, then you can take a turn off, and if he's still not on click 1, full range move back up, free use the Titan's team ability again, and then hopefully by then he's up to full. So my bar is set very high, and I would call her not the most efficient support figure. But for Thunderbolts, probably the best Thunderbolt support figure right now is Prime Red Leader. He has Outwit and that power action triple perplex, so that's really strong. And then what is it? Does the new Taskmaster have Thunderbolts? I'm not sure if he does or not, but he's always a very capable primary attacker. I know the one from Civil War does. But my favorite team out of, what are your thoughts? But yeah, she's pretty cool. Her ability to replace characters, being that it's on the same click number, I see where they were going with it, but I don't think it justifies. When I see her, I see a 75 point figure. I don't see a 100 point figure. I think she's overcosted by about that much. Maybe 80 if I was feeling real forgiving for that. So you guys can keep the questions coming. I'm going to stop over. There were some questions on Patreon. So Peyton Goldston asked, what are your thoughts on Avengers Endgame, and should they have created a Heroclix set for the movie? So again, no spoilers. This is a safe space for that. I totally understand not being able to see a movie opening weekend. But my thoughts on Endgame were it was excellent. It really capped off the end of Phase 3. I was happy with how everybody's story ended up. I'm going to be honest, though. I'm going to say things were happening in the first 2 acts, but I still felt like it was a little slow. But the third act made it so that you were okay with how slow the first 2 acts went. There were a lot of nods and a lot of Easter eggs and stuff like that, but I did find myself at times kind of wondering what time it might be. But the final hour of the movie was, I could have sat there for 10 hours and watched that final hour of that movie. It was so good. Heroclix set based on the movie. They should have had a Heroclix set based on the movie. The only trouble is that there were so many characters in the movie. It would have had to have been a 5-figure set. And I don't know, they've never made a movie 5-figure set, so I don't know if there's some kind of licensing agreement where they can only make the countertop displays for it. And that's why we never get a 5-figure booster set. I think it would have just been too hard. I know also they were really pushing Captain Marvel hard. Going to quote another YouTuber, going hard in the paint for Captain Marvel. So what? Obviously, out of those 2 movies, they wanted to give Captain Marvel the gravity feed so that she could get more press and more people would have the figures and whatnot. But I think that one probably should have gone to Avengers Endgame, and they still could have had a Captain Marvel. They could have had a couple Captain Marvels in that set, but they decided not to go that route. So then we have R.A. Zog from Patreon. In general, is it more financially responsible to buy a case or buy a CUR set in the secondary market along with the SR or chase figures you want? That is a fabulous question. I've actually been thinking about having a segment where it's kind of like a Heroclix Market Watch, where we talk about stuff like that and how, if it is worth buying sealed product or if it's not. I will say generally it is not worth buying sealed product by about $15. So let's say you buy your Heroclix case or your Heroclix brick for $120. Let's say you pay full retail in the United States. So you pay $120. You get your CUR set. Let's say in some land that you got a full CUR set from. Or you know what? Here, let's do it as a case because you're more likely to actually get a CUR set. I can't say you'll get a whole CUR set out of your brick with a straight face. So let's say you get a case. It's $240 USD. You're going to get a full CUR set, so that's $50. You're going to get, we'll just say you get your full 3 super rares from each brick, which are, on average, will be real generous. We'll say $10 each. So that's $60. That gets you up to $110. And then you end up with your chase or prime figure. Let's say you get one of each. Average prime figure, if you're averaging super rare all the way down through common, is right around $12. So that is $122. And then you get a chase figure. Depending on which chase figure you get, we'll just say that that's $50. So that's $50 and 22 is 72. So $272. You have made $32. Now that's if you get a good chase and you get a good 6 decent super rares. I've seen plenty of times where you end up losing money on a case because, and also I wouldn't advise buying Heroclix as an investment. They just don't seem to, especially with them not supporting a Golden Age format of any variety, with any kind of prize support. This is not a quote-unquote investable thing, something like Magic the Gathering or old school Pokemon might be, but Heroclix definitely is not. Where was I even going with this? So you end up with a bunch of $5 super rares. Okay, so that's $30 instead of $60, and then you end up with a $25 chase and a $5 common prime. So that's another $30, and you end up losing about $20 to $20 to $30 on your case. What I always tell people is if you're okay with auto losing $30 on your investment, because nobody's going to buy your commons, nobody's going to buy your uncommons, and nobody's going to buy your extra rares. It's just not going to happen. You might get lucky and be able to find somebody like trollandtoad.com or somebody else where you can sell them for about 9 cents bulk each. But absent of that, you're still effectively not going to make any money after shipping. So I would tell anybody, if you're not okay with losing $30 right off the bat, the smart money would be spend $50 shipped on a CUR set, buy the 2 to 3 super rares you really want, and normally that'll cost you about $10 to $15 each, unless it's a really good one. Like it seems like Starfire is really starting to climb up in price. You know, your Goblin Kings, stuff like that. Where Wolverine, where it's like $50 for a super rare. In those rare cases, if there's a bunch like X-Men, Xavier School, I would still say buy sealed product, because there are so many super rares and chases in there that are worth so much. But for most sets, I'd say you're better off, if you're looking to flat out just not lose money, getting a CUR, the couple super rares and chases you want. And you can end up with most of the stuff you want from a set, and actually end up with most of the set for the price of the brick or the chase you wanted. And you definitely get with the super rares and the chases that you wanted for a little bit less money. But again, it varies from set to set. Sometimes things just get crazy, and a set will have, if we get a couple more, and I see somebody posted about the collector, we get a couple more collectors in this Black Panther and the Illuminati set. And if you want stuff like that, it's going to get really expensive real fast, and then you're going to want to buy sealed. So it just depends. I normally try to buy sealed just because it really supports the venue. But if I'm looking at it from just like, I have no venue, so I just want the figures, for myself for a collection, I would go CUR and singles. Or if I'm just playing competitive, I'm not even buying a CUR set. I'm buying the 4 or 5 meta figures in a set. Peace out, A-Town down. That'll cost you $150. If there's an expensive chase, a super rare, and 1 or 2 other things, $150, and you probably won't be and you won't have any of the extra stuff, and you'll be able to resell them. So somebody's got, okay, we got a world champ in the chat here. We'll get down to him here in a second. Let me see here. We did that. Oh, actually, no. Okay, let's talk about collector. The collector. Would his multi-special equipment abilities stack? Thinking more along the lines of passive abilities. Yes, he would stack. You can have as many equipments as you like. So you could have, your opponent gets 3 objects and you get 3 objects, plus he has 1. So you could potentially have 6 different objects on him, and all the abilities would stack simultaneously. And it could get heinous real fast, especially if you start giving them things that give them shape change. Like I'm thinking about that again, the Venom symbiote or the Remaker ring to give him shape change and poison, or shape change and auto breakaway. And then he also, if your opponent has an object, he ends up on that click 0 to end up with, I think, an 18 impervious and 11 attack with some other things. It could just get really powerful really fast. Let's say you got that, you've got your Remaker ring. I think he's got the Reality Stone, and then you go and you steal your opponent's Exo Specs, and he's only, I think, 55 points. That's getting out of hand. You're going to have trouble dealing with that, and that's only, let's say it's 55. You've still got 245 points of whatever else your opponent has to deal with. So Richard Leo, who is a member of the Team World Champions, or you can sell them on consignment in a local store for $1 a piece and make 5 times Troll and Toad. You could do that too, depending on where you're at and if you trust that venue. That is definitely a good way to go. I would suggest that if you know, if everybody's on the up and up, I would probably do that at my venue if that was the thing that they did. So good suggestion, Richard. Then Mike G, at the same time, you consider that loss of money and investment in your local store. Yep, Mike G got it. That's kind of what I was getting at too, is that the sealed product helps out your local store. And that's why I said it depends. If you have a local store, I'd buy sealed, take the $10, $15 hit and move on. As long as they're treating you right, if they're treating you right on the price, treat them right. If they're trying to, overcharge or not give you like a pre-sale discount, like for example, my venue, we charge $95 pre-release price, and basically that matches what goes on online, because they charge right around $80 to $85, and then they'll charge you $10, $15 shipping, which gets you back up to the $95 price. They're making a nice little bit of profit, but the reason that you're getting it as a discount is that you're paying for it at that time, so the venue's not on the hook for that money. They don't have it potentially tied up in credit card debt or something like that, depending on how the venues run. So that's why you're getting it at a discount, is that it's already sold. They don't have to worry about it. It just takes up stock room until you get there to pick it up. Let me see here. Upwards of 8 objects on. Okay, Richard Leo. It says you can get upwards of 8 objects on him. I would be curious if you could give us a TLDR of how to get 8 objects, because I know I believe you'd get the 3 for your team, 3 for their team, and then 1 on you. Oh, and then your opponent could have 1 on one of their guys, I guess. So that would get you 8. Well, if they had a bunch of characters with them on them, like if they had, like, I don't know why you'd have it, but Thor, I keep wanting to say Stormbreaker, Beta Ray Bill, and Valkyrie, you could steal all their objects too, I guess. So good catch on that. Thank you, Richard Leo. That's why he's a world champ. Then let's see here, Chris, where you could buy sealed product, give them an extra product for potential new players, invest in the community. That is something that we do at my venue too, is we always keep a box of, like you only need so many of the number 1 common. So we always keep that stuff for new players, and then we just send them home with a giant gallon Ziploc bag full of stuff. And that's a good thing to do there too, Chris. So Mike G said, yep, not even new players. Our venue has a few players that can't afford packs. They usually get all my extras. Yep, that's what you do too. If there's somebody that you need to help out, they get help. I've done that all the time. I'll pull a super rare that somebody's really been after and they're having a hard time. We'll take care of that for them. Rechecking Facebook again to see if anybody posted any new Ask Me Anythings. You guys can feel free to ask. Looks like Richard is answering our question here. So Richard says 3 special objects RT run super rare Maestro. That's 4. Okay. Reality Gem is 5. Have super rare Doc Ock arms. That's 6. Goblin Glider 7. Yeah, plus 1 of theirs. Yeah. Okay. So it's basically what I said. All right. Yeah, that's definitely cool. I don't know. What do you think, Richard? I think that there's potential for a collector to change how certain things go right now. I think between him and the Mr. Terrific right now, that the LE one, that WizKids is indirectly trying to send a message about that we're going to have to start playing with more of just what's on board and base stats. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, or anybody in the chat for that comment either. Do you think WizKids is trying to send us a message between the collector and Mr. Terrific that makes it so that so the collector basically steals your opponent's objects, and Mr. Terrific makes it so that nobody can increase their stats? I think WizKids is trying to move us into a direction of more just using the stats and powers that are on the figure rather than using outside game elements. I think it's going to make call-ins a little bit more powerful, but I see where they're going with it. And it seems like they're still trying to like pull back the power creep a little bit, but we shall see how it goes. Let's see here. Tony Canavino, who is also a Patreon patron, so thank you for that. Opponent has 3 characters that start with equipment, place 3, along with your 3, and 1 from the collector, 10. Yep. Then he KOs and drops a stash in 1 square. Protect the collector. Yep. Hi, Aries Edge. If Aries is on, I believe you're on 2 clicks from KO. You guys just got previews, I saw. So good for you guys. I think that's the first set of previews you got officially from WizKids specifically to you guys. So congrats on that. I still can't even get them to email me back. But so there's that. So it's Fortnite when you kill somebody. Yes, even though I don't play Fortnite, that's for the young kids. I still like Elder Scrolls, but want to see the balancing act on objects. I think they would get placed in the next closest legal square, I believe is what would happen. So you'd have one in the middle, and then all the surrounding squares would get the objects dropped in them, I believe is how that would work. I'm not sure. Or it might end up at some point, too, where you end up destroying objects because they can't be adjacent to what you did. So, bring it to the putter, man. So, no more questions on Facebook. Oh, let's check Twitter because I did post there, too, although not very many people post on Twitter because it's a dying platform. Let me see here. No, nothing on Twitter. And let's check Patreon one more time. What do you think about the Illuminati? Christopher Salazar, who just registered for Patreon. What do you think about the Illuminati set coming out before Nats? I think that's par for the course for what WizKids does. They typically like to drop a set right before Nationals, keep everybody on their toes. I think that's pretty cool. I don't know. I like that there's a little bit of an unknown meta. I know a lot of people don't because it kind of it takes. Okay, so let's say DC Rebirth's been out. Let's just call it a month. DC Rebirth's been out a month. So you have April, May, first part of June. So you have 2.5 months to get your team straight. And then WizKids is like, no, you don't. You've got like a week and a half. Have fun. Man. So, I personally like that. I know a lot of people don't, but I think that's cool. So let me see here. Richard Leo, I think Collector plus Mr. Oz will be a good base to build. Yeah, it seems they're building us towards less sideboard, more figures. Yeah, Mr. Oz is probably one of my favorite ones right now. There's a Cosmic Team I was looking at, and you could fill in the Collector for it, where part of the idea was to have Mr. Oz TK out unseen and then sidestep and phasing. Well, then you could sidestep and phasing to pick up an object and steal it, basically, or you could outwit and call in a figure to full board attack. And Collector basically fills that same role, but he gives you an extra really cool ability, and he's also Cosmic Theme. I think Mr. Oz at 40 points is definitely going to see a lot of play. Or he says, no, just giving us more to balance the meta. Yeah, it definitely seems like they're trying to balance. Mike G, I would add Sheriff Strange. What would you add Sheriff Strange to? I mean, I like them, but I'm not sure. We've kind of moved along. So then we've got yeah, no problem, Aries. You guys always do cool stuff over there. 2 clicks from KO. So we'll have to have you on sometime for like a pre-recorded thing to just talk about something. I'm not sure what, but we'll figure it out. I'll get at you on Facebook. So Dan 80 Thomas says Shade the Changing Girl can also use her power action to place herself on an unheld object to gank it. Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't have a Shade the Changing Girl, but I'll take your word for it. They've done that before. What I joked around about was using Mr. Nobody for Golden Age from, what was that, World's Finest, to yank them over and then have Collector collect them. Could be cool, although you're not getting the ones off your opponent. So what you could do is turn 1 do that with Mr. Nobody, turn 2 TK out the Collector and then steal the rest. Could be cool. Aries Edge, you can stack objects in 1 square with new rules. There we go. Okay. Aries saw it with What If, and Howard won with Goblin King. Yeah. Yeah, that was cool that Howard won. I've definitely been, speaking of Howard winning, although I don't think it was that tournament that he won with Goblin. Did he win his world championship with Goblin King? But I've been really enjoying that Shazam he built, as proven by its price, man. That thing's pretty expensive for a rare. I'm not sure if it's because Billy's so good and he works with Billy, or if people just feel that he's that good on his own. Could be because of the movie that came out too. So let me see here. Mike's been asking why somebody, I forget who, calls me the Waffle Guy. There for a while, I was going to run an at-cost Facebook group where I was going to raffle off Heroclix figures, and it ended up tanking. I called them waffles because Facebook would flag the term raffle. But what I did is I ended up having where the money would all go in a pool, and then at maybe once a month or something, just give away a figure. So every time I did a giveaway, I had to pay, or every time I did a raffle, I had to pay to get the figure from me to eBay, plus shipping and whatnot. And then I had to get the stuff from the people for the raffle, and then send it away and pay for that and pay for fees, and then have a little money extra. And what people thought I was doing was basically overcharging for the figures, which, again, technically it was. Like, if I was charging, if the raffle was $15 for a $10 figure, you figure it costs $4 to ship that figure and an extra $1 to put away to just flat out give something away. But people didn't care for that concept. So basically what happened is that I had the page for a month. Nothing ended up closing, so I just gave everybody back their money and said, peace out, A-time down. So Eric, oh man, I'm not sure how to say that J there in your name. Erickson, good figures, easy to get. I definitely think that Silver Sable is a really good figure right now, given that she can be given a named keyword, because a lot of teams really need that extra one action to really sing from leadership. She's got a fairly capable 11 attack and the Spider-Man ally team ability. So, if you have a Gotham City Underworld theme, she could share that 11 attack. Same thing with Sinister Syndicate. So she's really good. I really like Sheriff Steve Rogers for his, again, leadership. He has the PD team ability to decrease opponent's defense by 1. And what else does he have? And the where your opponent can't increase their stats, their attack values when attacking him or adjacent friendly characters. For 50 points, I think that's a steal. Police theme teams, pretty good. Past is actually getting better. So Past isn't a terrible theme team. And then what else is there as far as really good common ones. I have a whole video. I have several videos that I just made this month, and then I did videos last year on what I ranked as the top 10 commons through chases. So there's one for commons and uncommons, and those are all pretty easier to get. It's not a... sorry about the... Yeah, it's not really... It's a little embarrassing because I wanted it to work and I was trying to give back, but certain people... And I can't blame them. They thought, you can only get burned so many times on the internet by people before you just assume that that's what people are going to do. So I don't really blame them for that, but I do wish it, because it would have been cool to, be able to give people cool stuff. But, it is what it is. But yeah, getting back to Erickson, the uncommons, definitely out of the uncommons is Overdrive. He's definitely a cool one. Can carry people with a ton of range. Then there's I really like the uncommon She-Hulk with Proxima Midnight Spear, so she can have running shot with the 4 damage and probability control, and the extra 1 damage I think is cool. What else is there? There's a bunch of really good ones. Check out those lists for sure, and those will help you out for what the best ones are. And they're only like 50 cents a piece. So you figure if you get all 10, that's $5. So $10 in total, and you can have what are, in my opinion, they might not be for everybody, but in my opinion are the best ones. I remember from the list, Batman Beyond, from the Batman the Animated Series set was on there, for the commons. Cable was on there for the commons. What's the one Eternal that a lot of people use for Unimind, where she can definitely do the +2 perplex, and she has running shot and psychic blast. She's pretty good for a common, although she wasn't on the list. But yeah, there's a bunch of good ones. Tony, great job. Keep up with the One Day April. Thank you very much. It was fun to do Everyday April. I like it a lot. It helps out the channel. As far as growth goes, it definitely shows to me that I should try to go every day if I can. But right now, I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. So for me to go every day long term isn't really feasible because they, I don't want to be an absentee person. So, gotta help them out with their stuff. But once they go to school all day, which in my school district would be first grade, then I can definitely see me going every day all the time. But as far as Everyday April, if you guys care about the numbers and stuff like that, and then you guys can still keep asking questions. And then if it looks like it's starting to die off, we'll be done here in about an hour and a half. So we're at an hour and 17 minutes right now, according to my thing. But if we're still popping, I'll go to 2 hours. It doesn't matter to me. But in my school district, we have half-day kindergarten. But anyway, as far as numbers go, I've about tripled all my numbers from the previous 28 days to this 28 days. In some numbers, I've more than tripled. Like as far as views go, I averaged right around 6,500 views, and now I'm just below triple. I'm at like 21,000 and a couple hundred, like just barely below triple. Watch time minutes, I am more than tripled. It was like right around 33,000 watch time minutes, and I am like up at 102,000 watch time minutes right now. What else? As far as money goes, you don't really make that much more money. I was surprised with. I ended up doubling to I think potentially $40, but it never. Thena, that's it. $40 for the last 30 days. Which, I mean, I don't do this for the money or anything. But just to let you know how that stuff goes. So I doubled that. And then I've really increased subscribers. I've increased, I think, I went from like 1640 to I'm up to 17, I think it was like 85 or 84 for the last time I checked. So Richard, Stegron's pretty bomb for cheap. Yeah, so here we are. We're going to get back to the chat because that's pretty much answered the numbers for Everyday April, even though Tony didn't technically ask that. Let me see here. Got She-Hulk. Thena, Mike G, and Tony. Yes, Thena is who I was thinking of. Rick said Stegron's pretty bomb for cheap. That is correct. He was on my top 10 rares list. And he was on there. Actually, the WizKids Open that I went to, where I had Black Bolt, Captain Britain, and Spider-Man number 15. I beat a Stegron team in the Swiss, and then in the final round for all the marbles, I had to play him again, and I ended up losing. I couldn't make my breakaway rolls, and those dinosaurs are definitely really good. Rick, what do you think about like a double Stegron team? You think that has any viability? I keep putting it out there. It's only 150 out of your 300 points. So somebody said like a lot of the rares from that said they were good. Yep. Mike G, the Skull. Yes, the Skull is on my top 10 uncommons, and he's from Earth X. What are the best Earth X figures? Erickson asked. Off the top of my head, it would have to be the Skull, Silver Sable, Stegron, Black Bolt, that Daredevil, the Don't Die Daredevil. I really like the Iron Man with the Iron Avengers. Let me think here. I'm trying to think of who else is in the set. Cap Venom is really good. But yeah, I'm with Rick. I think, do you see the chase price anytime? So we've got, okay, I'm trying to catch up with the chat here. So that is, I think I got up to 7 or 8. I don't remember all, but there is a top 10 Earth X figures video that I made. So please refer to that. Vulture Prime is in there. Then Dan 80 Thomas, I find that I'm lacking a map option. Are there some maps that you could recommend for getting that I should get familiar with for a tournament? The Underground that's on the reverse side of A Muck in Time, you need to know inside and out. That's very popular. Wakanda from Earth X is extremely popular right now. A lot of people like it. And then what else is going on? And then if you're in the ROC, you're allowed to use them for WizKids now. I like the Hedge Maze map. If you're facing somebody without a lot of Colossals or with a lot of Colossals and you have a lot of range. And if you're playing in ROC, the ROC Underground map is highly abusable. And I also really like the Iron Man Avengers Tower, whatever. The one where you, from Earth X, where you get the Iron Avengers, is a good map too. I definitely familiarize myself with those. I'm sure there's a bunch more that I'm not naming. I'm sure Rick can probably help out in the comments with some that I'm forgetting. Mike G, Daredevil. Yep, Daredevil is one of the best figures in Earth X set, and he's really good on that Don't Die team. And Rick, do you see any chases catching Cat Venom and Price anytime in this meta? Ah, man. Wow, what is he up to? He's up to, I think I saw somebody post him for 170 or something. I've seen a couple of them at around that price. I don't see anybody. I want to say like Bardos maybe, or maybe Murder Machine if they were to get a few wins, but I'm not entirely sure. It's really hard for me to think of something that would catch him right now. That's as far as meta play. That's a lot of money for a figure. And, you know, we've seen this before, like especially with World Light and the entities, but it's been a while since then. And I think Monster Theme's just so powerful when he grants them extra things. I think Bardos or Barbados or whatever it is, are probably the he's probably the next most likely to catch just because he's also a monster. But other than that, I don't see anybody really. I could see a couple get close to 100. I can't see any get up to like the 170s like he is. Let's see here. Rick says the skull, hands down. He's really good. I ran him actually on my version of Don't Die. And then I had him adjacent to a Lockjaw. He could mastermind off to him. And corrupt GCPD officer, I could mastermind off to her, and she'd keep coming back too. So he's definitely really powerful. Erickson, Daredevil. Daredevil is okay when rolls go your way. Then it looks like a little trash talking. Rick, Devil Stegron's okay. A lot of actions. Yeah, it does eat up a lot of actions. But I think if you could get it to where they could both do the stampede on the same turn, I think you have a chance. But it would take you a lot of actions, and you'd have to be really disciplined. And I think quite frankly, I think your opponent would have to make some mistakes too to allow you to do that. Do you use and play with Star Trek away team sets? I do not. I wasn't able to really get my hands on any of the Star Trek away team stuff, although I'm a little bit regretful of that because there are some good figures in there, and it's I don't have them. Yeah, the reason I don't have them isn't because I hate Star Trek away team or anything like that. I just didn't end up with an opportunity to get them. Sort of like I don't have any Captain Marvel except for Phil Coulson. It's not that I didn't like it; it's that my venue didn't really get it right away. Although we do have it now, so I'll probably start picking up a couple of them. But just unavailability made it so I didn't have it. And Mike G, Iceberg Lounge, and however the heck you say that for that other map are good ones to keep track of. Yeah. So, but a lot of good maps. I like that that some of the RSC maps are allowed. I kind of wish they would have allowed the Flashpoint Flood. I totally see why they wouldn't have allowed Underground to happen. I think a lot of people would have abused that, including myself. But I'm not exactly sure why they didn't include the Flashpoint Flood. But it's their party. I was just invited to it. So, but if anybody else has any questions, go ahead and put that in the chat. Again, it's Ask Me Anything. Heroclix related is fine. Anything not Heroclix related within reason is also fine. Again, just checking on my phone because my computer hates it whenever I try to do more than one thing. Thor and Mjolnir is almost $200. Still, Mjolnir is most of that. I don't know. I haven't checked on a Thor and Mjolnir in a while. I saw, last I checked, somebody had a Thor and Mjolnir. I feel like it was only a couple days ago for like $150. But I could be wrong. We are getting close to con season, like with U.S. Nationals and stuff. So things will be going up in price. Oh yeah. I lost to a former national champion. Yeah. So the person you lost to was a former national champ. Yeah. So yeah, that's what. So getting back to the losing to a former national champ, that's what I've been really gauging my losses by lately is quality of loss. I'm still a bridesmaid, not a bride, sadly. But I did qualify for U.S. Nationals, even though I placed second at the WizKids Open. But the way I've been judging my losses is as long as I'm making, top 8 and only losing to, top 8, top 4, and I'm only losing to first or second place, I feel pretty good about it. I'm not going to beat myself up. If I make top 8 but I lost to the eventual person who won, then I feel good about it. Mike G, if we only get one bet at Origins, will it be okay if we cuddle? Yes, it is okay, Mike G. Mike is on, I started a Heroclix team. He is from the venue that I play out at in West Virginia when they have large events. The team is going to be called Critical Misdirection. We have, I think, 5 5 members, I think currently. 3 of us will be participating. Myself, Mike, and Calder Ness from Dial H for Heroclix are going to be on a 3-man team for U.S. Nationals teams. And then each of us are also qualified for U.S. National singles. So we're going to do that. We're going to have cool shirts that are all going to match to show that we all heart each other and are on the same team. So we're easily identifiable. And then can have a good row similar to a soccer hooligan style after the events. Just kidding. Violence is bad. But anyway, yeah. So that's basically all there is with that. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anybody's questions. Looks like I got everybody. If you guys have any more questions, go ahead and put them up, and I will answer those for you guys. Also take advantage that it seems like Mike G is a really good player. That's why he's on my team. And Richard Leo is also in the chat, and he's, like I said, current world champion for teams. So if you guys have any competitive questions, these are 2 guys that are really good. And Mike G, just saying it was a good game, you did well. Yeah, no, I'm really happy with how I did. If you guys saw the video of my second place at the WizKids Open, I missed 3, I believe, hypersonic breakaway rolls, any one of which would have won me the game. So it's just how it goes. Like I say, you need only critical miss if you don't have probability control. It's only failed breakaway roll if you don't have prob. And I didn't have anybody lined up for the first one. Was probably the most devastating one. And whenever I missed that, that basically in my mind had decided the game, because it made it so that I didn't have an opportunity to take out some major threats on his team. But again, it was very well piloted team by, like Mike said, a former national champ. Tony says, will you offer service to pick up buyables at Origins for patrons? I hadn't considered it because I know Happy Little Heroclix did that, and it seems like he got stuck with some. But I'm not against it. That's something that I will probably, when we get a little closer to, float out on Patreon and see if anybody picks it up. But I'm not against it. It's not like a firm no in my mind. I just don't want to buy some and then have people say no, they don't want it. So what I'll probably do is get them, get you to basically pre-agree to getting them, take a picture of them when I get there, and then have you basically immediately pay me so that I'll have a chance to, if you decide not to want it, that I'll have a chance to get to somebody else and won't get stuck with it. But again, I'm not against that. We'll talk about that more on Patreon once the time gets closer. Something else that I'm getting ready to do is, again, like I talked earlier, speaking of Patreon, something that they've been seeing me talk about lately is I'm going to get custom dice made from Chessex. They're, what are they called? Borealis, I think. And they're like a clear, sparkly blue with the white Mr. Clicksflix logo on it and white pips. The Mr. Clicksflix logo is on the 6th side. And I'm going to have a Dyson token pack to basically fundraise for a computer tower for the channel so I can do more live streaming and do more graphics with it whenever I do that. And also so I can use Adobe After Effects and Premiere Pro, because right now my computer doesn't like running those. It'll crash. And if you guys saw, I did what I felt was kind of a cool concept video. Man, it was several months back now that I'm thinking about it, where Thor was shooting lightning and Cap's shield was getting hit with some bullets and I had some dust flying off of it. And War Machine's gun was spinning and shooting stuff. That was a 30-second video, and it took my computer crashing 3 times and like 8 hours to process. Like it took so long. So I have a video up. Maybe I'll make it public. It was for patrons only, but maybe I'll make it live so that you guys can see what it's going to go to. But it's going to have a Core i9 99K CPU. And then I have, I think it's a 1070 GPU, and then 32 gigs of RAM, and a bunch of other stuff. A solid state hard drive for running the operating system with a standard hard drive for the main workload. Plus, I have an 1 terabyte external hard drive that I'll just take off of this computer to run other stuff just for storage. And with that, I'll be able to do all the After Effects. I'll be able to stream and have up other web pages for you guys to see at the same time. My computer won't, be stricken silly and not be able to do anything. It'll still work. So Tony said prepay only. Maybe that's what I'll do. And then Rick said, I'm going to Origins Thursday, Friday. I'm going to run Battle Royale tables for a bit. That's cool. And then Rick's already qualified for Worlds. All right. So it looks like we're making some plans here. Rick is from my general area. I'm not going to dox him. If he wants to say where we're at, that's up to him. But I've seen him at some local stuff. He's a very good player, so it's cool that So, Rick, are you going to be a judge then? Is that what it is? Yeah, and Rick got to make a figure. I'd love to get somebody from WizKids on to talk about that process, but again, like I said before, I can't even get him to send me a "quit bothering me, kid." I just get flat out no response whenever I send them what I feel are very professional and nice emails, but they feel like not emailing me back is an appropriate non-response, I guess. So, let me see here. So, Rick, can you tell us, I'm not sure what the NDA is for doing the figure, so if you respond with a simple no, I totally understand because I wouldn't want slapped with something. But can you tell us anything about your figure? Can you tell us Marvel or DC? Or just something? I know you can't name the figure, you can't say anything about the powers or anything like that. All right. And while they're doing that, I'm just going to check Facebook one more time for this Ask Me Anything. This was pretty cool. If you guys enjoyed this segment, let me know, and I'll try to do more of them. But again, like I said, the live streaming, my computer doesn't really work. But once I get a new computer, I'll be more than happy to do all the live streams you guys basically want. Although I would never switch to just an all live stream. That I don't know if YouTube did something to their algorithm or what, but that seems like that's really a channel killer there, is whenever you do the live streaming. I know whenever I was trying it out and doing it for live streaming, I ended up getting about half the views per video that I would on the same subject matter if it was pre-recorded. And I did an experiment one time where I did I think it was with the Batman the Animated Series set, or it might have been the set before that, where I did a video discussing the preview figures live, and then I did the next video was pre-recorded but discussing the previewed figures in the same format as the live video, and the pre-recorded one got double the views even though it was the same quality, same everything. And when I asked people why it was, they said that they felt like if they didn't see it live, they felt like they were missing something. So what that told me was that live is just not the way to go. I do like doing it because I do like interacting with people, like what we're getting going on here. But yeah, it's definitely cool. Rick says, just go to Matt. It's going to be crazy open meta. I'll just see what's going on. Eastern PA is playing. Too many judges from our area already. Yeah, there are a lot of judges from the area of Pennsylvania that I'm in. So That's pretty cool there. Must mean we know what we're talking about, except for me, though. I always get stuff wrong. But, all right, guys. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I'll give you guys like 1 or 2 more minutes to ask questions of me if you want anything. Other than that, we'll wrap it up. Thank you to everybody that decided to join the live chat. I saw we had as many as I think 21 or 22 people in the live stream. We still got 16 right now. So awesome. Thank you for that. If you're not a subscriber already, make sure to hit that subscribe button because hopefully, you got to hit the notification bell now too. Why would you get notifications if you subscribed? Now YouTube makes you hit the notification button, and you have to tell them how much you want notified. Or if you don't want to do that, just head on over to the Mr. ClicksFlix Facebook page or follow me at Mr. ClicksFlix. I always share the stuff there also, so that you guys can see that. And like I said before, if you're interested in helping the channel grow, the YouTube ad revenue does not pay any of the bills. So make sure to stop over at patreon.com/Mr. ClicksFlix. Got a ton of cool rewards over there. Always looking to add more rewards also. And I'm going to start doing Patreon exclusive sales where the only way to buy an item is if you're a Patreon patron. So let's see here. It looks like we got another question. Rick said he can't say anything about the figure, which is fine. I just I hope it's awesome, and I hope it's everything you want it to be. Because that's really cool to be able to make a figure. And then Stephen Gilbert. I had another question. Fairly new to Clicks, and I have been gifted an absolute heap of them, over 1,000. Oh my goodness. But I don't have a lot of stat cards. Can I use the stat cards on bases without the cards? Okay. So, if it's from a set that doesn't have a card, like before we had cards, so before the first Avengers set, which was I think the 5-year anniversary set, there were no cards. All you had was the powers on the base and the stats, and you just played with those, and you had your powers and abilities card to tell you what the colors meant. If it's from a set that has a character card, if the character has a special power or a trait, so that would be indicated by a star on the base and a white box around a stat, then you need the character card, because you need to know what the trait does, and you need to know what the special power does. It's called a special power. Some people call it a white power. You need to know what those two things do, and there's nothing on the dial to indicate to you what those do. But the dial will tell you if it has any of those, and if it doesn't have those, then you don't need to worry about the card for at least casual games. Now, if you're playing in Nationals or Worlds or something like that, they just made a rule today where you can't have proxy cards or anything like that. It has to be the original card, so you'd have to hunt those down. But yeah, that would be what I'd look at. So if you can find if you go to hcrealms.com and you check out their units section, and you look at the base of your Heroclix figure, you'll see a set design. Just go through there, see what set it is, and if it's Avengers or later, then it has a character card, and anything before Avengers does not have a character card. So hopefully that helped you. If you have any more questions, just let me know. I'll try to help you out. Let me see here. Then we've got, don't have a lot of, Lucas, the Unseen, for sure if you can't buy Surters and Carnages. Lucas, what are figures to look to get at Origins? Okay, Leo's trying to help. I missed Lucas's question here. Lucas, what figures to look for? Definitely Unseen, Surters and Carnages. I would say Mr. Oz is a good one to hunt down. Man, I'm trying to think of who else would be good. There's so many good figures right now. I'd say a Vulture if you can get a Vulture. Big Tonys, Ock Arms, Exospecs are pretty much universally good. What else? Unimind, Lockjaw, Star Fox. Like I feel like I'm naming all the like a cosmic theme team. There's just a lot of really good figures. If you watch let me think here. I have some stuff that's like I do like a lot of the top 10 videos, so anything that's on those I would get before Origins. I would watch Dark Logos over at Starting Over Podcast. He has videos on YouTube, and I would go through his videos and see what he's suggesting in his videos and definitely think about those. He's a very good player and captain on Phoenix Nest. Clicks Off has Daniel Powell and a bunch of other good players. So I'd see what they're talking about over there, and those would be my suggestions. Other than that, and Steven, you really helpful. Only play casual with wife and friends. Okay, if you just play casual with wife and friends, then really, if you just look at my top 10 videos, and that'll get you at least 10 figures at each rarity to hunt down. And then I also have top 10s for each set, and there's always like commons, uncommons, and rares in there that I put in just to make sure that some of the people that like Popper or that don't have a ton of money can still get something good. Mike wants to live stream some games, brah. I would be more than happy to live stream some games if my computer wouldn't have a fit as soon as I did that. Like right now, I have a program called OBS. It stands for Open Broadcast System, and that's what I use to live stream. But like OBS is doing it's working, and I can see what I'm doing. But as soon as I look over on my other monitor at the YouTube live stream itself, it says the stream's healthy, but the image is frozen and stuff like that because my CPU is getting overloaded, and this is an off-the-shelf computer, so it doesn't have a separate GPU, and that's one of the things that with the Patreon money and then the Dyson token pack sales that I'm going to be fixing with that. It's going to be about $3,000. Well, it's going to be the Dyson token packs are going to go towards a camcorder with a mic input, so that you're not going to pick up a bunch of ambient noise when I record games, and you'll be able to hear what the players say clearly rather than not really be able to hear. And it's going to be a full HD one, not like my Sony Handycam that I think is 720p. And then it's going to be about another $1,700 for the parts, all the parts for the computer tower. So it's going to be about $3,000 altogether. Obviously, some of that will come from me, but other parts of it will be Patreon and then that sale. So there's only going to be 100 Dyson token sets made, and they're going to be individually numbered with business card size certificates of authenticity. So I think they're going to be pretty cool. There's going to be the 2 dice that I already talked about, a light object camcorder, light object computer, and a Mr. Clicksflix custom bystander that I think is going to be pretty cool. Probably not going to be, you're not going to be allowed to use it for like anything official, but it might be cool for, at home games or something like that. It's not going to be OP, but I definitely got some twists for it that I think you guys will appreciate and have to do with the channel and my sign off. So I don't know. I might have to fix that later. Tony shared a link for the WizKids print and play, and for some reason YouTube said it's held for review. And because my computer is laggy because I have multiple things open, it won't let me hit show. But after the live stream, I'll hit show so that people can watch that on the playback. But yeah, they have that. Let me think here. Then we've got, as usually the best game, Steven. I see being lookout for Prime. Yeah, I like Citizen Steel 2 also, Mike. He's definitely cool. And Lucas is saying, I have Carnage, but I lost a card to it. But I do have everything you guys have named, but Star Fox and Lockjaw. Star Fox and Lockjaw, Lucas, basically do the same thing. So, depending on what you want to do, I would only hunt down one of them. If you have Star Fox, then you need the Exo specs. If you don't already have the Exo specs, then I would say just get a Lockjaw. He's going to run you about $60, $65, and he'll be able to do, like, he won't give you the double perplex that Star Fox has, but he has a lot of flexibility in other ways. So I would just decide one or the other. They basically fill the same role, though, and have the same cosmic keyword. Prime, but he locks your prime slot. Yeah. Yeah, Prime Vulture. Definitely Prime Vulture is the one prime to get. If you're looking to do things like that. I don't know does it seem to you guys that the prime commons and uncommons have been the best prime of the last few sets, except for this DC set. This DC set, it's either Black Adam or Bizarro, and I'm going to say probably Black Adam, but the last several sets it felt to me like it was either the common or the uncommon thing. Which sucks because he wants to run Jakeem. Yeah, for that JSA. Sometimes I run Ricky. Have I thought about stripping? I have thought about stripping, and then I thought that nobody'd want to see it, so I didn't do it. But if I thought there was an audience for it, and I thought I'd get paid for it, I'm not too proud. $20 is $20. Then Rare Batman from Batman Beyond with the Batarang for free. You can mess up tempo team. Yeah, that Batman. That Batarang is actually really good all by itself. I like that one. There for a while, I was putting him on Old Man Cap from ADW so that he could get a shot through characters, ignoring characters to kind of help out a little. And it's only 2 points, so it's really cool. But I like it on that Batman, too, for theme. It isn't super expensive pieces. Yeah, speaking of not super expensive pieces, did you guys see the article Lucas put up about the Pauper League today? That seemed pretty cool. Hopefully that catches on, because I'd really like WizKids to sponsor more than just 300 Point Modern. But I know that they said before that they were worried that people wouldn't buy the new figures if they went Golden Age, but I don't see why they couldn't have Magic the Gathering where it's like, hey, let's have 3 world champions, Modern, Golden, and Pauper, or something like that. I can't imagine that the figures cost them that much money for the LE figures that they couldn't afford to do that, but I could be wrong, or it could be a manpower staffing type problem that they're running into, but I would like to see them sponsor more things. I think that what happened with the cop cars for the Golden Age World Champion really scared them off from doing that. But I think now with Kenny helping them out and Howard helping them out also, I think they could really avoid something like that, and I think they should try it again just to give it another shot. 2 Vulture Prime, should I sell one? Yeah, you can't run Red Leader with the Vulture, and you can't run 2 Prime Vultures either. So definitely sell your other one. Although if you're wanting to sell your Vulture Prime, I would wait until about 2 weeks out from U.S. Nationals, and then I'd sell it because I'm betting that he won't be worth as much as some of the other primes, but you might get a solid $15-$20, whereas right now you might get 10 or something like that. I haven't really checked the value on him, but definitely if you wait closer to U.S. Nationals, you'll get more money. But yeah, it's sad you can't run them with Red Leader too. What I keep thinking of, what I've been sad about lately is that I can't run two title characters, because I've been wanting to run Batgirl title character with Captain America Resilient and the 2 Hulks and a Taxi to carry them all across the board and attack. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I got 2 title characters. I can't do that. So that one's been making me sad lately every time I think about it. So, yeah, Mike's basically echoing what I said about the Vultures. Hang on to them until you get closer. U.S. Nationals gets a few more tournament wins. I think the Doc Ock arms being indestructible is going to help them be viable, because if that object was destroyable, I think people would have figured out by now that you can just full board cross the board, burn a 3-point Cyclops ID and destroy it. But it being indestructible kind of causes some problems. But again, you've got the Collector coming out, so I'm interested to see how that fold works with that. I kind of want to see somebody just go with like The collector, like, I don't think this would be theme unless collector has scientist. I'm not sure. He just came out today. But like the collector, whatever his name is, Mr. Terrific, and the 200-point Thanos with the 19 defense and 13 attack for 5 damage, and just be like, go ahead, try to hit me with your 10 attacks that you needed plus 3 perplex for to guarantee a hit, and just do that. That would be cool. Yeah, Jake Williams, Illuminati for life. I actually really like that team. I felt like if there was ever a figure that was, or ever a team that was a quote unquote perfect team, I thought it was Jake Williams' team, because the object of the game is to win the game, and what prevents you from winning the game a lot of times is dice rolls, and he eliminated the probability of not getting the dice roll you needed, at least in the game we saw. Now, it's my understanding that's the only game that went that way, but still there was the potential for that, and to me that's a perfect game. I know that it's kind of like a negative play experience for people in the same way that whatever his name was, Felix Faust was, but at the same time I thought it was the perfect game. Let me see here. Rick didn't like Jake Williams, then for sure, but at the same time, he's being figured out like Hawkeye was. Yeah, he's got all of his own problems. Him being on a non-theme team, I think, will eventually be his downfall. I think theme is what's going to do it. Then 50 points, you can guard him easier and set up. He'll be around for a little bit. I do think he'll be around. I expect to see a few at Nationals. I would not go to Nationals planning on not seeing one, pretty much regardless of what comes out in Black Panther and the Illuminati. Is the car listening? Thoughts on LE spoilers? The LEs that I saw today for the, I believe those were all U.S. Nationals ones. I thought they were all pretty cool. I didn't see anything that I thought was particularly game-breaking. I liked what was his name? Richard Reed with the H-dial object I thought was pretty cool. I thought the Spider-Man Spider-Gwen was cool. Although I'm not sure from reading the card, it seems like at first glance you might be able to spawn multiple of each Pog, so multiples of Miles and multiples of Spider-Gwen. And if you can, it might be broken because I don't believe that the card said, maximum 1 per thing. So if you could get like 3 perplexes with the Gwen and an outwit from the Miles, and it's only 100 points, plus they get a power from each one, I think that could be a good one. Lamps, Mike and Rick are talking about Lamp style. Lamp's probably my favorite style of team just because my dice rolls are so poor. I like Lamp a lot. I love Lamp. But yeah, that was a good LE. What was another one? The Hulk one was interesting where he has like the squid on his head, although I have no idea what comic book that referenced. The 75 point weapon H looked cool. Meta probably not, but definitely cool. 19 defense for 75 points is hysterical. Then there was you're right about Vulture, but I think the good players aren't scared of him now. Yeah, it's one of those things. You can go familiar. The first time you see something, you're not sure how to deal with it, and then like the second or third time you see it, you're like, oh, this is how this has to be. But let me think here. The 2 Mandarin rings we saw, I liked. The one gave an extra damage if you used multi-target, and what was the other one? Mind control, and then minimum range of 10 for prob and perplex, which could be cool depending on what you're doing. That could be cool. The storm. The storm's really cool. I love the sculpt on that. The attack value and damage value is really good. Her point value is really good. I think she's going to get a lot of call-in time with her, whatever it is, her Days of Future Past card. I think she's going to get a lot of call-in with that. They didn't announce what the events they were for. No, Chase Ambrose for July WizKids opens. Oh, he could be for that then too. I'm not sure. I didn't really see. I just saw the previews and I didn't really look into what they were specifically for. That Chase Ambrose looks kind of cool too. I like the sculpt on that one, and I don't think he's meta, but I think he's cool, and I think he's good for the points. But yeah. The Superman was cool too. Again, ultimately not meta, but that sculpt was good with like the fiery S in the background, and he'll be fun to play. Static's the best LE. He was good because it. What was it? If he could TK for free and I think make an attack with an object, so you could basically carry him across the board. TK for an object for a free attack. You can only spawn if they are KO'd with. No, I think. Hold on, now Mike's got me thinking. Hold on, let me check the scorecard here. Let's see what the so many previews today. All right, here they are. Because I know you get one of each when they are KO'd, but who's ending up on which Earth? At the beginning of your turn, you may choose a bystander on this card. If you do, Miles and Gwen can use the character's standard power until your next turn. So you can, and that's their second trait. It doesn't say that the character goes away, and it doesn't say maximum of any particular thing. And then the other thing is that stop, which is what you're talking about, where they spawn them when they're KO'd. They generate each one. So I'm not sure. I'm sure there'll be a clarification. Right? Yeah, but that's what it says on the defensive power, but on the trait called who's ending up on which Earth, it says you can generate them. So yeah, I think you have two different ways to generate them. You can generate them with that trait, and then you can generate one of each of them when they are KO'd. So, although I could be sounding real stupid right now, but I just read it, so it is what it is. No, Dean Ambrose. Why does that name sound familiar? I'm not sure. But let me see here. I don't have a question. Just want to let you know that myself and a few people on my channel love your channel. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much, J. Kyle. Really appreciate that. I see that in my analytics, like a lot of people from Canada watch. So thank you guys for that stuff. I got a couple Canadian Patreon supporters. So thank you guys for that too. I just, really enjoy that the channel is growing and people seem to be enjoying this stuff. If there's specific kinds of content you guys want to see more or less of, let me know. It seems like, at least on my end, people are enjoying the top 10 lists, probably most of all, followed by the unboxings, and then the, just pick a figure and do a team build around it. Not even necessarily like meta builds. Those don't seem to get very many views, which indicate, or comments, which indicates to me that people don't really care for them. They would more like to see me build 300-point team using Fancy Dan or something like that. Like, they'd rather see that stuff, which is fine. I'm just trying to look at what you guys want so I can produce that to, just kind of grow the community, make the game great, give you guys something to enjoy, take your mind off whatever's going on in your life for a little bit, because I like making the videos. It's a nice extra hobby for me. It gives me something to keep my mind off stuff, and seems to do the same for you guys. So thank you for that. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. Thank you to everybody that's been in the chat so far. You guys have been fabulous. Thank you to Lucky Dice Cafe for sponsoring the channel. Thank you to Troll and Toad for sponsoring the channel. Both those companies are great. I saw that Lucky Dice Cafe is doing their pre-orders for $90 shipped of whatever it is. Black Panther and the Illuminati. I'm not sure what Troll and Toad's doing theirs for, but I'm also still running that giveaway for $50 off of Troll and Toad on Facebook, so visit the Mr. Clicksflix Facebook group for that. And then, hopefully whenever I draw for that, you guys can win that and get it. Visit patreon.com/Mr. Clicksflix. You got about another hour to get in on getting one of the boosters from my my brick that I unboxed. I'm giving away all 10 boosters, so if you win, like let's say the booster that has Bizarro, you'll get the other 4 figures that are in there also. Beginning of your turn, let me see here. Mike's setting up. At the beginning of your turn, you may choose a bystander on this card. If you do, Miles and Gwen can choose the character stay on power until your next turn. Oh, never mind. Mike's right and I'm wrong. It's not saying generate, it's saying you just choose a bystander and you can use the thing. I'm reading it wrong. It's been a long month and it's late for me. So, Mike is correct. I don't know what I'm looking at. But yeah, so you generate the bystanders at the end, and then before that it's sort of like a pseudo pick a power. They're still pretty decent for 100 points. And the sculpt, I think the sculpt is beautiful. Let me see here. You don't spawn them when you choose. Yeah. Alpha Strike, Turtles. Yeah. Yes, people seem to have liked that, and I really got a good response out of the top 10. Like, it didn't even have anything to do with figures. It was like best practices and worst practices. I got especially the one that was worst practices. People seem to really respond well to that one, and the team styles people seem to like too. And I think that's important. The team styles, and the reason that I keep covering them is because it's important to notice, a lot of the meta teams that you see now, like they do, 2 or 3 of those team styles. So, it's important to understand the capabilities. Like when you see, the Vulture team, like it has a few different capabilities there. Like obviously it has the Alpha Strike, but then it's got a couple other little wrinkles in there where if you weren't aware of the other team styles, you wouldn't understand it. And it just helps keep you from getting attacked, getting on tilt and taken off guard. So, all right, guys, it's 11:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I think I'm going to call this. I'll give you guys another minute or two. We'll see if anybody has any last-second questions. Can be anything. Again, thank you guys for being cool about this. This has been fun. This has been a really good response. I might do an Ask Me Anything more often if this is the kind of response we get. So thank you guys for that. Yeah, no, Mike, you weren't losing your mind. I'm the one losing my mind, apparently. But that's such is life. I don't know. I can't read. But anyway, all right, guys. So thank you very much for joining me. That's all I have for you today. As always, please remember that it's only critical miss if you don't have probability control.